Today was a big day. Fed rate cut. Every agent that is also doubled as a economic professional advisor had a lot to say over the last couple of weeks about interest rates. I have seen Mortgage Daily News seems to be the real estate agent's website of choice when trying to post information about mortgages. So if you're a real estate agent, I don't know, there must have been a public service announcement or something, because that website seems to be a fan favorite of the real estate agent. And I've seen lots of posts over the last couple of weeks about interest rates being the lowest that they've been all year. Some have made the mistake of saying in a year. And so we've got the lowest rate in 9 months since it's, mid-September. And we had the Fed rate cut, and the Fed went ahead and reduced the Fed funds rate by 0.25%, from 4.5 down to 4.25. So I wanted to get two agents in the room and get your take on it, and then talk a little bit about how it's affecting the market.
You know what I just love? When agents make unrealistic expectations for clients or potential leads. Because, we talk about this every day in the hallway, but I feel like the people on air need to see it. I think when agents are posting about rates, they always want to shift the discussion to, and because of this, the housing market is going to do this. And that's just one person's opinion. That's a great hypothesis, but you can't say for sure that's going to happen. So if I was a buyer, I'd be watching this hearing the agent say, oh, rates are getting lower. Oh, they're going to get lower? Great, I'll just wait. Mm-hmm. And if I hear this as a seller, oh, rates went down, more people are going to be buying. Great, that means my house is going to sell this weekend at the open house. I'm just going to go quit my job because I don't need to I don't need to work anymore because my house is going to sell for so much more than it's worth.
Yeah, so kind of what you're saying is that it creates an environment where real estate agents are over-promising and under-delivering.
It's writing a check that your butt can't cash.
Exactly.
Or at least there's no guarantee that it's going to cash, right?
Mm-hmm. We're going to need you to scoot up closer to that mic. There it is.
So I don't really mind agents saying, responding to someone who asks about rates and saying, yeah, look, the last time this happened, we noticed a little more activity in our market. Hopefully we could see, more buyers step off the fence. But again, that's anybody's guess.
Mm-hmm. I think the common trap, though, is just people, especially agents who maybe aren't closing what they want to close or looking for any way to start a new conversation. And the best way to get somebody excited is to give them some shiny, flashy
discount,
something to grab onto, not realizing that it could be a detriment to what their actual goal is, right? Or you get somebody gassed up for the wrong reasons, and then the reality sets in. And again, you wrote that check that your butt can't cash now because maybe rates go up. Just because the Fed cut it doesn't mean the mortgage rate's going to come down. So if you told everybody that it was coming down for sure, no matter what, and this is going to be the last time, and that's not the case, well, now you're a liar. And
Yeah, it makes my job more difficult too. Is it's I'll back off of the real estate agent. Just general media loves to write articles about this stuff too, because it's a topic that people want to chat about and people are interested in. And I think the main reason is we selfishly look at it as like a real estate issue, but in reality, I think for a lot of people, they need the relief financially, and so a refinance opportunity that was probably promised by a real estate agent a few years ago.
People have been dating the rate too long.
Right. The date is up. They're ready for, some relief financially as far as the monthly payment is concerned. And so that's the piece of it that I think makes it more newsworthy is it's a way for people to save money on their mortgage payment, maybe get that house that they really wanted for a lower payment, things like that. But unfortunately, I actually just looked at kind of the flow chart, if you will, and we had a good rally from like August 20th until today. So almost 30 straight days of slowly but surely watching interest rates kind of reduce. And a lot of that was due to the fact that the Fed meeting and cutting interest rates was pretty much anticipated. So the market starts to make movement from the time of that announcement all the way up until the Fed cut. And I think that's what drove a lot of the information in regards to these reductions in interest rates. However, just saying that rates are the lowest that they've been in a year, it sounds really nice when you say it. But realistically, all we've done in the last 9 months is pick up about maybe 3/4 of a point in the rate, right, total. And that's really for like the ideal buyer, right? That's not for your
Everyone.
VA client, your FHA client, your middle to low credit score client, your client putting down 3% only. Like this is for your like top tier 20% down
Think about second homes.
primary
right?
residency.
740 plus.
Right. And it makes my job difficult because then everybody is like, oh, hey, I hear rates are coming down. What are you going to do for me? What are you going to do for me? And I'll tell you what, I had a great kind of success story where we locked a guy in at like a 6.375%. And throughout that timeline from when, because he's already under contract, right? This is the part that drives me crazy. You want to talk about interest rates for people that don't even have a home picked out yet. Agents are speaking to their potential buyers who are on the fence. Like no one's going to move that quickly and capitalize on where rates are. But yeah, we had a gentleman that was at a 6.375, and over that 30-day timeline, we were able to reduce his interest rate by 1/8%. That was cool, So it's not all doom and gloom, but the Fed cut the interest rate, and from there, it really comes down to the way that Jerome Powell, what his kind of comments are. And unfortunately, he didn't speak very much about, a bad job market or anything doom and gloom in the economy. The Fed has a balance sheet that, they have money that they can basically like spend towards things like mortgage-backed securities and bonds. No talk of that whatsoever. So it was almost like business as usual. Everything was anticipated, and the market reacted poorly to it, meaning that I always relate it to like when you're doing a bet on like a football game or a fight or something like that. There's obviously the like win-loss heads-up bet, right? So if the Cowboys are playing the Eagles and someone says like, well, who's going to win the game? You're like, well, the Eagles are going to win, right? Well, that's one bet. But then if I'm like, well, I'm going to give the Cowboys a 6-point spread, and so now the Eagles have to win by 6 to cover, that changes the dynamic. So here, to relate that to what happened today, we knew that the Fed rate was going to get cut. I mean, it was basically baked in. It was like 100% chance. That's like Eagles are beating the Cowboys. Well, that's a good bet. That's easy, right? Like there's no betting in that. Like that's a lock.
It's the favorite.
Right.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was after they cut this rate, there wasn't any kind of talk that would have anticipated a guarantee of additional rate cuts in the future or anything along those lines. I mean, there is talk of the possibility of getting 2, potentially even 3 more rate cuts by the end of the year, but none of that was talked about after the meeting. So that's kind of like the Fed won, but they didn't cover the spread. And so when we walked in here, we were down 18 basis points in terms of mortgage-backed securities. The 10-year bond is going up. Long story short, rates were way better yesterday
than they are today
because of the announcement for the Fed. And we've had a solid, what would you say, 7 to 10 days of everybody beating their chest that interest rates are the lowest that they've been in this year.
Went out and got their megaphones.
Yeah, it might have only been a week.
So I hope we've all learned our lesson, because if you are that agent and, clients are going to contact you and say, hey, I hear rates are going down, you can just, nod your head and be like, yeah, which is what I think most people just do. But if you're being totally transparent, I mean, we haven't seen that much movement. It's just, it's not worth like the posts that I've seen. It's not worth the predictions that I've seen. And it really is, to James's point, it's like writing checks that your butt can't cash. Now we all look foolish, and now I have to give, because it makes me, to be honest, now I'm just being selfish. It makes me feel grimy when like now people are calling and being like, hey, I heard the Fed cut the interest rate. What's going on? And then when I make a comment like, yeah, well, the market didn't really like it. Rates started to come back up, and they're like, no. the Fed cut the rate. I'm telling you. I'm like, oh, I know what you're telling me. They're like, cut means a reduction. I'm like, I get it, right? And it makes me feel like they think I'm like lying to them or something. So that's the news about the Fed rate cut.
So just to clear it up for the people out there that aren't going to understand, when the Fed makes a rate cut, they're cutting the rates that the Federal Reserve is giving to the banks. This has nothing to do with what the banks are then loaning out.
And so, correct. And so the things that you will see some, for lack of a better term, immediate relief on, and by immediate, I mean probably in the next, 2 to 4 weeks, are going to be things like business loans, credit card loans, home equity loans, right? Those are all things that the bank can pass that savings on to the consumer now with the intention of people borrowing more money, right? So now would be a great time to, literally not today, but maybe in the next couple of weeks, if you're paying on a high interest rate credit card, it wouldn't be crazy to maybe shop around for something like that. But for it to get to mortgage interest rates, it's such a longer, as Sean Fuentes, who is on here, I've been using his term quite a bit, real estate's such a slow burn. It takes time. On a positive note, we're definitely headed in a step in the right direction. I've been saying this on the podcast for a while now, where I anticipate what real estate agents do from now until pretty much spring market of 2026 is really what is going to make or break the next 24 to 36 months of your career. Because as a slow burn and a step in the right direction, I see no world where the Fed turns around and raises rates back up or anything along those lines. Home buyers and sellers are both, they're ready. If they're not staying put, they want to move, and it's not really because of anything practical, right? It's because it's time to buy, it's time to sell. And a lot of people are going to come off the fence for nothing more than just time. And those conversations that we have, which is why I wanted to drag y'all onto the podcast, is what I think is going to matter most. And I think everybody should be loving on their people right now, which is the next topic that I put on here, which was staying ahead of everything, letting everybody know if you're a real estate agent or a lender, call your past clients, let them know I'm here, I've got you, because there is a lot of misinformation out there right now, which sadly, a lot of it is within our own industry.
It comes from,
right?
I want to say bad actors, but bad agents or whatever.
Like I can't stop, the mainstream media and from them being like ignorant on a topic that they don't fully understand. But boy, is it really tough to swallow sometimes when I have to see veteran real estate agents like chatting about interest rates and telling people what's going to happen when no one has a crystal ball and, rates are going to go down, property values are going to rise, you better buy a home now. That's so silly. It really is. And it's a shame. But I got a phone call today from a gentleman who, got a call from one of these big box call center refi places, and they're trying to charge him $9,000 to refinance his mortgage, save him 0.5% on his interest rate, which is going to save him about $90 a month. They want to charge him $9,000 to do it. And,
Incredible.
And the point is like, this is like, the fucking wolves are out, man. And I feel like if we don't stay in front of our clients, somebody with, like
enough push.
Yeah, is gonna convince somebody that now's the time. You gotta act now. You gotta act now. So
something that I wonder is how much pull these agents who are posting online even have, and has there been a growth in mortgage applications in the last week since the rates, and do you think that's correlated with what the agents have been posting, or if that's just
yes, and yes. So we track mortgage applications on a weekly basis. Mortgage applications for refinance, this won't surprise you, but for refinance are up like 30% year over year. Purchases up closer to like 18 to 20%. And I absolutely think that real estate agents do have a little more pull than they even know. James and I were talking about this before the podcast, where I don't know if it's human nature or what it is, but people really love to hear what they want to hear. And everybody wants to hear that interest rates are coming down. Doesn't matter who you are, right? Whether you're a buyer, to your point, then, oh, now I'm going to be able to afford a better, bigger home. If you're a seller, oh, now I'm going to get more money for my home, right? And then economically, right? Oh my gosh, maybe I can get some relief on my credit cards. Maybe I can refinance my car loan. Maybe I can, get a loan to start this new business. I mean, it's all exciting, right? Obviously the downside is the inflationary factor, and I don't want to get into a whole thing in economics. We can keep it real estate related, but that is another thing, the big thing that I'm hearing all about. The administration politically, Donald Trump's administration wants rates cut. And here's what's interesting is Alan Greenspan was the federal, he was the Fed chairman for 19 years, one of the longest running that we've had, at least in my lifetime. And he was asked one time, have you ever had a presidency where the administration ever wanted you to keep interest rates where they were or raise them? And not once has an administration ever wanted anything but rate cuts. Reason being is because rate cuts, forget about what's happening down the road. I'm only going to be in office for 4 years.
It's going to pump money in and make the economy
What's going to
better.
make me look good quickly while I'm in office, right? And so there's a lot of people that are looking forward to low rates. So when someone goes on and goes, rates are coming down, like that's music to almost every that's music to almost everyone's ears, regardless of where you sit.
Or even if it's totally relevant to your actual scenario, right?
Right.
Simply hearing it, throwing it off the cuff gives people ooh, that's exciting. Let's see what that's about.
Yeah.
Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy.
Yep. Precisely.
How much do eggs cost now?
Depends on what kind of eggs you want, right? I was in Central Market the other day, and I was mind blown at the what is the word? Just the palette of and pricing of eggs, where I think the least expensive dozen eggs I saw was almost $3. And then the most expensive one I saw, which was, from Magic Chickens on a pasture that are breastfed by a by a dinosaur, those were $9 for a dozen eggs. But those are magical.
It's crazy. You walk out of your house and you automatically spend $100.
Oh, that's why I try not to.
No, so I can't leave. But then I get on my phone and I spend money.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because that is a segue into the next thing that I was thinking about when we talk about the Fed is, the reason why things are so expensive, and that inflationary portion of what I made mention of, a lot of stems from COVID spending, where, if you're spending trillions with a T, it's impossible to pump that sort of money into an economy and not experience inflation. And so that's where, walking out of your house and spending $100 comes from. And the Fed made an announcement in 2021 that their goal was to get that inflation down to 2%, which is the number that has traditionally been where we want to be, right? 2% has always been the benchmark of where we want inflation. And I'm kind of getting on the bandwagon. I didn't come up with this myself, but I've been hearing it a little bit more, and it's debatable in the, economic world, that because of the inflation and just because of the cost of things, that there's a lot of talk that and the Fed's not going to cop to this, but there's a lot of talk that 3% might just now become the new 2%. Mm-hmm. That your year-over-year inflation at 3% is an acceptable level. So you're going to have to make sure that you're increasing your income by 3% every single year, and increasing your budget for spending every single year, knowing that if you got a 3% pay raise,
you washed.
Yeah, you're washing out, right? You're not making more money than last year. And
that has a cascade to investments and everything else. Yeah.
Because right now, Fed, our inflation rate, whether you want to do it with or without, what am I trying to say with, any of it, durable goods or whatnot. I mean, you're in the high twos, right? I mean, there was a point there where we were at 2.1, 2.2. Things have actually ticked up a little bit, and I mean, that's the seesaw effect that the Fed has to figure out, right? Do you want to reduce interest rates with the idea that you can stimulate the economy to eliminate, or at least, not increase people losing their jobs? Because if companies don't have money to spend or they're not making money, the first thing they do is they cut jobs. So if you can reduce the amount that it costs to lend money, that helps bolster jobs, but then it also increases inflation. And if you increase those interest rates, yeah, you reduce inflation, but people lose jobs, right? And what's the saying? There's no solutions. There's only trade-offs, right? And I'm hoping for a soft landing, which is what they've been talking about for 3 years.
I mean, that kind of,
Yeah, they're kind of doing
soft
it.
landing.
But, I think 3% is going to be the new 2. And as long as they're keeping it under 3%, I envision rate cuts to continue. I think we've got a very bullish president in the office who, is going to make that happen. Whether that's good or bad, I think is going to depend on who you are and, where you are economically. But I think it's going to be good for real estate next year.
I was going to say, how do you think the rest of this year is going to go? I mean, do you think the talk and the buzz around rates gives us a little bit of a pop going into the holidays?
No. I think what it does.
I need to be searching for new jobs.
I think what it's going to end up doing is, to my point, I think it's a great opportunity that anyone who is in real estate or in lending. I mean, the part of the reason I wanted to make this podcast is to get some of these clips out to my people, right? And let them know, like, hey, I've got you. I'm watching the rates. I'm watching where your financing is at. I promise, like, there might be a possibility we can save you a little bit money today, but I'm fairly confident that waiting for the next couple of months, weeks, whatever, is going to be best practices. So as you're getting all these robocalls from mortgage companies that are claiming that they're going to save you tons and tons of money, I promise we'll save you more. And I think that waiting is best practices. Those conversations are work, and it's part of my job, just like having this exact conversation. Y'all should be doing it with your buyers and sellers. Is it going to get you paid? Not this year, right? And that's one thing that we talk about as entrepreneurs, right? I think the toughest part about being an entrepreneur is like working a 40-hour work week and coming home at the end of the week and having nothing monetarily to show for it right away.
Actually,
right?
less than what you started
Yeah, it
with.
could be less, right? If you're
once
buying
you're
coffees
paying your assistant and all
yeah,
that.
you're driving around. But I think if you're doing all of those things, and I think these conversations will continue, come spring market and everything along those lines, I do believe that we're going to start to see things pick up. And here's the part, and I know I've said this on the podcast, and I'd like to get y'all's take on it. There's a lot of talk that, of course, when rates come down, people come off the fence and property values go up, right? And I think that is a very broad stroke, short-sighted way to look at it. Because we've talked about, I disagree. I don't think property values are going to go up like crazy. I think negotiations will become a lot lighter, meaning, I had a gentleman today, house is listed at $510,000. He goes, yeah, we need a pre-approval letter. We're going to come in at $420,000 on this one. Like, those are things that are, 90, I did the percentages on it. It's like 20% under list price. I didn't run the comps. Maybe it's just wildly overpriced, but I don't know many agents that list properties 20% over market value. And I think those days are coming to an end very soon. The guy who's like, let's just see what they say, that's going to go away. Why don't we come in and why don't we ask for $30,000 in seller concessions? That's going to go away. The whole, hey, let's get it under contract. Let's get the... the inspector in there?
Oh, yeah, and
renegotiate. And then ask for everything to be fixed or give us $20,000. I think those things are going to go away. And let's be honest, like, I'm excited for that to go away. That's the part of real estate that kind of drives me crazy, right? I feel like people should just be doing their research and coming in with highest and best type of things, but I'm not an agent, so what do I know? What are your thoughts on, interest rates slowly coming down, and do you think nothing's going to change? Do you think it's going to get crazy, or property value's going to go through the roof? Buy now or you're screwing up? Like, what is it?
I have noticed no difference in traction on my listings in the last week, but, I do think it's a slow burn thing. I think any agent that's trying to interact with people who they want to become buyers by promoting that rates are down is very short-sighted because, you still have to get them pre-approved. You still have to show them the houses. They still have to find one, negotiate. get under contract before they can even lock that rate. So it's not like going on eBay and buying a house. I think over time, yeah, if rates go down, it eliminates, some of the buyers concerned about the price being too high. But I think you're also going to get the same people who are saying, well, if the rates are going down, I'm going to wait for them to go down even more. I think at the end of the day, the people that want to buy a house are going to buy the house.
I agree.
And if your listing is priced correctly, looks nice, doesn't need a ton of repairs, then it's eventually going to sell. I mean, might take a while, might take a couple price reductions, even if it's priced perfectly on the market. But yeah, I don't think that the rates are going to make that big of a difference unless we were to see rates, cut in half, because then that really triggers people to make some movement.
If that happens, which that's never happened, even during COVID lows, we went from like 3.5 to 2.75. Like that's another thing people always forget about. Rates were so gosh darn low even before COVID. I'm always amazed that no one talks about that. They just talk about how low they got, not how low they were before they went like a little bit lower. So based on what Chase said, James, do you feel like all of this talk that we see in the news and with agents, is it literally just noise?
I think people make generalizations, which I try to steer away from because nothing is quite as simple as people make it out to be. Will lower interest rates eventually lead to higher prices and more demand? Of course. But you have to take into consideration how many listings we already have. Then once rates go down and more people want to buy, well, then those people have to sell their houses. So then that's even more inventory. And so we're going to have to burn through, a really sizable amount of inventory before we get back to a constraint that will then drive prices.
So you're sticking with the Sean Fuentes slow burn.
I mean, I think it's a transition, right? That's a great way to put it. But at the same time, it's just math. Like it's just statistics. We have an exorbitant amount of inventory and not a ton of buyers. So even if we had a huge influx of buyers, it would take 4 or 5 months before we got to a, less than 1 or 2 months of inventory. But again, majority of the people who are probably going to buy in the next cycle are going to have to sell the house that they've owned now for 5 or 6 years. We have a lot of people who tried to sell their house over the last 2 years and couldn't. So we have a pent-up demand for sellers and buyers, people who want to sell and people who want to buy. Mm-hmm. So I think we'll see a lot more and probably a good 6 to 12 months of a similar type market where it's still going to be changing. There'll still probably be a lot of turnover, but we're not going to see it's like, oh, well, rates dipped and prices immediately went up. It's like we have to kind of drudge through some of the existing stuff, right? Burn out the old gas before we're going to be able to expect that, listing the house is going to go for over ask, right? I mean, in the same way where sellers over the last 3 years were stuck in that COVID seller mindset, like there's going to be a ton of buyers who are going to be striking out because they're stuck in this post-COVID buyer mindset where, I can get $25,000 off the price and $25,000 in concessions and $10,000 in repairs because this seller was so desperate. So there's going to be a lot of people going into the market of like, oh, hey, now rates are going down. Cool, I still want a better deal and I still want all the repairs and all that stuff. And a realistic person who's, working with a comparable agent is going to use their client and say, hey, we should do this way, make this a win-win. That's the best way. And they're going to be beating out all those people who are just overly hyper-aggressive. So I think we'll see a lot of that too, just people striking out, thinking that they're going to get everything that they want that they could have gotten. It's like, well, if you wanted all that, you should have bought now, right? You should be buying now if you're trying to get that kind of a deal, because once we have more buyers, even if prices aren't going up yet, if there's just more competition, our leverage will go down.
I agree with all of that. Yeah, I mean, I think the agents that are posting about the market's about to turn and get crazy, I mean, they forget that we still have 7 months of inventory sitting on the market.
That was a good point.
It's all got to be burned through. And I would love to see some data that, because I feel like so many agents talk about this pent-up buyer demand. I would love to see the data on how many people get approved for a mortgage, like get a pre-approval, but then never buy, versus the sellers who put their home on the market and then withdrew either to hold on to it or to make it a rental. Because I guarantee the listings that have been withdrawn are I mean, that has to be
It's probably 3-1.
10 times higher than the buyers that thought about buying and then didn't.
I mean, I've had a couple of both, right? I've definitely had some buyers who were serious about buying, and for one reason or the other, whether it was, their own financial or maybe they couldn't find what they wanted and stuck around. But I for sure agree that there's definitely a lot of sellers who wish they could have sold for a better price because maybe they bought it in COVID when it was still pretty high, and they're just stuck in a property because they're underwater and they can't sell. I think there's probably a lot more pent-up sellers than we realize because they're not. Those listings are available, but they're not on the market. So we don't even get that data. So we may have, 20,000 listings across our 3 counties on the market, but there's probably another 10,000 of people who would sell if they got the offer, but they're not even on the market because they're not thinking they're going to get one, right? So we got to factor that in as well.
I think the people that it's going to, if it's getting any buyers off the fence, it's not going to be the people who never considered buying, who are renting right now, saying, oh, maybe I should buy a house. It's going to be the ones that have already gotten pre-approved. They've been dragging their ass for months, renewing this pre-approval every 90 days just to see one house during that 90-day term. I mean, we have a mutual client who had gotten under contract on house, realized that the payments were going to be way higher than what she was comfortable with, and then decided to back out. But maybe a client like that who's extremely conscious about what her monthly payment is might be the kind that could be swayed by discount and interest rates.
Yeah, the more I always walk myself through it, I mean, the majority of your buyers are people who already own a home, and it's very difficult for them to give up one rate for another. I mean, we see this in my business when we do refi stuff, right? The compartmentalization of debt and, versus what you want, right? Because the practicality is always, well, I have a super low interest rate over here. My payment's so low. And meanwhile, you're looking at another property that you totally can afford. You want it. And, it's usually bigger and nicer and all of the things. And, you talk yourself out of it due to practicality. But then my argument is always, well, what's practical about the house you currently live in? It's 4,000 square feet. It's you and your, it's you and your boyfriend. And I think that's really where the majority of the people who, for lack of a better term, are on the fence, right? It's not the people who, to your point, are renting and we're maybe considering or not. It's people giving up that super low interest rate to get into a property that move up buy. And that's I think that's going to be, I just read the NAR posted that if interest rates go below 5.2 million buyers are going to come out of the woodwork and start buying. And I don't know where they come up with this shit. I really don't.
Hello, buyers. If you're looking at coming out of the woodwork.
Same people who do the polls, I guess.
Oh, it's ridiculous
The
because, I mean, you guys know just as well as I do. I mean, with the seller concessions that are available, it's you want me to get you something with the 5 in front of it. We can do that all day. So I totally disagree that if an interest rate becomes available with the 5 in front of it, that something crazy is going to happen. I just don't see that. I think that the majority of it's going to be time, and that's what I'm excited about. We've had 3 years of interest rates being where they are right now. Everybody just needed a little bit of a push in terms of a catalyst, but that doesn't mean that everything falls off a cliff, right? If you've been paying on a home, I'm a great example of this. I mean, I think I have a 2.25% on my mortgage we've had for the last 5 years, and I'm kind of over the house that we live in, right? I just want a new one, and I'm gonna probably have to get rid of this 2.25%, and if I'm really gonna just live my life because I've got this 2.25% on this home that I don't want to be in anymore, I don't know, and as the years go by, it becomes more and more apparent that nothing's going to change. So are you going to do it or you're not? And I think we're going to see more people that are going to just say, fuck it.
And just get after it.
And especially when the zeitgeist, as Chase and I call it, especially when all the dads and father-in-laws finally get on board and agree that getting rid of your low rate to get into this new house makes sense because, they'll figure out a way to make it make sense because we can't explain anything. That's That's all it'll take is for a couple of people at a bar to be like, yeah, I'd sell my house. Fuck, it had a 2.5% interest rate. But, me and Kathy had some kids and da-da-da. And all it takes is for people to hear that story a couple times. And then everyone goes, okay, cool. I'm not an idiot if I sell my home with a 2.25% rate.
I mean, that starts with the news saying rates are coming down.
Sure.
And if someone wants to make the riskiest move but take advantage of that low rate, they try seller financing,
Sure.
at a 6% rate and make that difference.
That's an option.
But I think there's a lot of people that aren't necessarily concerned about the rate that they're losing. It's the fact that they bought their house in 2021 when they had no options. They settled for what they felt like was okay. They're bored of it now, and
They overpaid for it.
well, they bought their house for $600 and it's worth $420 now, and they just can't justify bringing that much money to closing.
That's the client that I feel like is going to benefit from interest rates reducing, because then the refi opportunity steps in and it becomes a lot more palpable to live in a home that you watch your payment go down, right?
But if they bought it at the height of the market, I highly doubt that they're going to be that we're going to get to the point where rates were at.
Well, I'm talking like height of the market being like what, 21 you're saying? So you have your low rate.
Like you have a low rate, but your price is way more than what it's worth today.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that that's an exception.
I would like
based
to
on
apply to reduce the principal amount to my house. How can I do that?
I
I could sell the house to myself and at a lower cost.
do like a short sale to yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't do those. I mean, yeah.
Isn't that kind of a racket?
Well,
I mean,
It's like,
I'd
hey,
short
if
sale
we
it to
got
my
an-
LLC.
If we got an appraisal right now and it tells me it's $50K less than what I bought it for,
Yeah, let me pay the tax difference and let me reduce my principal. Suck it, bank.
it's called a loan mod. I mean, they do exist. Loan modifications are a real thing, and if you can produce, solid data to show that, there are times when a bank will make a loan modification. It's not common, but I mean, we were doing a lot of them in 2008 and 2009 for about 2 years. I mean, we even had a division in our mortgage company that did loan mods specifically for people that were way underwater. And they were so predominant that President Obama enacted the Home Affordable Refinance Program. This would have been in 2009, where he basically came out and said that anyone with a home, pretty much you did not have to get an appraisal completed on your property. If we could prove that we could create a net tangible benefit, is what it was called, in refinancing your home, then we would do it without any kind of appraised value. So there were a lot of people that were seeing relief in their payments, because to your point, just because you're underwater on your home doesn't necessarily mean you're always going to be underwater on your home. And it's really about affordability. So again, that kind of goes back to, the person who purchased maybe in like 2021, you're telling me that they have a low interest rate, but they're underwater. Well, if they have a low rate, I mean, where are they going to find a lower payment someplace else? They're just stuck in their home, right? And that's not always like the worst thing. Like, you liked it at one point. You own the home. It's yours.
You fought for it.
And you fought for it, and you can afford it, right? I thought you were speaking more toward the person who is, purchased maybe, say, like late 21, early 22, where that, in my opinion, was more of the height of the market, where properties were still selling at top dollar and we were experiencing interest rates in the mid to high 5% range. That's the individual where now, you're right. I mean, especially a lot of these new builds where they went and purchased these properties, they cannot sell them for what they owe on them. They've owned them for like 2.5 to 3 years. That's the client that I envision seeing a ton of benefit from reducing interest rates more than the person that's buying and selling, because now we can help make their home more affordable with a refinance option. You're not going anywhere, but at least we can lower your payment because you've established a little bit of equity. We can probably even stretch that back out to a 30-year term and re-amortize it, right? So now you're financing less than what you originally financed when you took out the loan originally. We reduced the rate, save you a couple $100 a month, get you 2 months off of your mortgage payment. That's going to allow you to pay off some additional debt and just reduce some of that stress. And that's what I'm kind of a little more excited about with the rates coming down, that I think will move the needle for some people. Not not rates are reducing because now property values are going to go up. You better buy a home now. Like that, I think one of the agents that we know specifically said, now is the time to jump in.
Do you think we see a
Chad
rise?
Goldwasser, is that you out there? The greatest agent in the world.
Hey, that's what he said.
Hey, his words, not mine.
Do you think that we see a uptick in loan modification mastermind courses being sold by 20-year-old Instagram influencers?
I sure hope not. I mean, when we were doing those loan mods, they were pretty ugly, man. I was not a fan of them.
I have a client I can't wait to contact me about this.
$5.99. I'll teach you how to do it.
Well, here's the part that's crazy is like when we were talking about these loan mods and even when we were doing the home affordable refinance program, I've talked a lot about this on the podcast where I would have conversations with people and they'd be so down and out. They'd be like, Matt, you know, I bought my home and I bought it in the height of the market in like 2007 and 2006 was probably the height of the market. And, you know, now I'm $20,000 underwater. This is bullshit. Like life's not fair, right? I had to hear in a nutshell, how unfair life was and how people got screwed. And come about 2013, 2014 was when we really started to see things tick up again. And anybody who basically sold after 14 all the way into 20, I can remember talking to some of my same clients that were beating their chests about how much equity they had and, you know, how it was such a wise decision that they purchased when they did. And I'm not joking. Like literally people that I almost wanted to say like, do you remember when, you know, you were like complaining about being underwater and we were refinancing with no appraisal and this and that? Like, oh yeah, that was crazy. Oh, it's just so crazy. Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought? And I'm like, me, motherfucker. I'd have thought like, and it's just, it's interesting because we all know real estate's a slow burn, right? I think you've always said you never encourage anyone to buy a home unless they're going to own it for how long?
At least 3 years.
Right.
I mean, I would rather them say 5.
So if you purchased in the height of the market where interest rates first started to uptick, which was basically like March or April of 21, flash forward, I mean, you're right at that 4-year timeline, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's safe to say there's a strong possibility that if 5 is kind of like you're going to be good to go, March of 26, that's that 5-year mark. It'd be pretty serendipitous if we saw that uptick and a lot of those clients that felt down and out in 22, 23, 24 are now like, hey, there's light at the end of the tunnel and it's not a freight train.
I think we probably have a high chance of seeing a lot of people sell their house for exactly the same amount that they paid for it just to get out of it and get something new. Because like if they bought it in, say they bought it 5 years ago, right, 2021, they probably paid for more, but as the market maybe starts to pick back up, I think instead of people demanding that the only way they sell is if they make money, I think you see a lot of people say, well, if I could just get out the equity that I have, I'll let it go to move on to something else. Like where over the last couple of years, people only wanted to sell if they were going to make money, right? You have a bunch, if you have to sell and somebody's in a bind, you know, they're paying to get out of it or doing a short sale or whatever. But I think you'll see a lot of voluntary buyers who, you know, will be.
Would that be to downsize? But what do you think the why behind that would be?
Like you said with your home, maybe nothing's even wrong with it. You just want something new.
Yeah, I'm
ready
ready for a change.
Yeah.
You guys ever watch that home? Oh my God, what's the name of the show? What's the name of the television show where they have all the rehab stuff?
Fix it or flip it.
Yeah, but what are those all on? Like Home and Garden,
HGTV.
HGTV. Remember the show that was Love It or Leave It?
I love it or list it.
Love It or List It. Yeah, I almost feel like we got to start a segment where it's like, refi or relist it, right? It's like, hey, you've got this house, you're not underwater anymore. You can sell it and make no money. Right? And just get out from underneath it and buy something new. Or we can save you $300 a month on the payment. What do you think most people would do?
I'm sure there's a lot of people that would say, you know what? I don't want to pack up my stuff.
I agree. I think that's the answer. I think you're going to see more people that are willing to refinance it instead of relist it just because of exactly what you said. We have a client that wants to sell their home but doesn't want anyone to come in and see it.
They don't really want to sell it, yeah.
Right.
They just don't want to pay for it anymore.
So what do you guys think from a strategy standpoint? Maybe you've thought about this or maybe you haven't. And if you're willing to do it on the fly, if you haven't thought about it, go for it. But what do you think the for the other agents that pay attention from time to time, what do you think the strategy conversation is to your buyers and sellers over the next couple of weeks now that we have seen this highly anticipated rate cut? Like, what's your plan of action?
Do I have to bring it up to them, or did they just ask me?
I think you should be bringing it up to anybody that you currently have that has either talked to you this year about buying or selling. I think you should be making the outreach. What do you feel is a good way to do that? And don't tell me like a drip campaign email, because I get all of y'all's, not just both of you, but like everyone's. And I'm here to tell you, like, it is like delete, 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 delete.
I mean, I think for me personally, it's, checking on people, doing a pulse check, right? Hey, where are you at? What are you thinking? What's your next 6 months look like? Have you seen what's going on? Do you have any thoughts about it, right? Really understanding where someone is, because broad stroke, majority of the people are not going to be making a move in the next 90 days, right? We have 4 weeks or 6 weeks until Halloween. 3 weeks after that is Thanksgiving. 4 weeks after that is Christmas, right? So we're pretty much through the end of the year. I think now is the time to basically set the ground floor. Where are you? What are you thinking? How are you doing? And then start to kind of set that gear up, depending on whatever their answers are, right? So I think that's probably the biggest thing is stay in touch with your people and really just find out where they are and where they're trying to go, and then tailor the solution based on the client, whether that's timeline or, location, whatever it is, right? Whatever they're trying to be and wherever they're trying to go, identify that now, because that's the only way that you know if it's an opportunity worth.
The reason I ask is because with this situation that happened to me today where this client contacted me and said, hey, I've got this other company, here's what they're offering me. And ultimately my suggestion was, I don't think now is the time. I think we should wait for, things to get a little better. And that's my professional opinion, right? Like, do I want to close a deal right now? Of course. It's financially advantageous for me to like say to this client, like, great idea. Hey, let me go ahead and send me what this other company did and we'll just beat it and close this. But I don't think that's what's best for the client. And what really was like a shock to the heart where I was like, oh man, was he flat out said, he's like, yeah, this company called me, they made this presentation, and like, I'm with you. I don't really think it's best practices either, but I remember at closing you said to me like, hey, when the rates go down, I'll be reaching out to you and I'll be letting you know what we can do for you. And I was kind of like, well, why didn't Matt call me? Right? Meanwhile, you've got real estate agents, well, we won't name names, that are posting about interest rates going down, that are saying that if you don't do something soon, and that person might be watching that real estate agent who, in our opinion, is being, what's the word, a pain for the business, but they might be thinking, why didn't Chase call me about this? Like, why am I hearing this from this random agent that I know, but I'd rather work with Chase, but I got to listen to her. And now I'm wondering why Chase isn't saying that. Is she full of shit, or
is Chase behind the ball?
Is Chase dropping the ball?
That's a good point, and a little of both. But and I guess so. This actually changes my strategy because I am dropping the ball because I'm not communicating enough. So I think my communication now, when I'm reaching out to people, isn't necessarily, hey, rates are dropping, all this stuff. It's, hey, if you're looking at the news and you're questioning what you're reading and you want an expert opinion, I invite you to have a meeting with me and my lender so that way we can break it down and explain what you're reading, because if someone else who doesn't know you calls you, they don't have your best interest in mind. They have their best interest in mind.
I would agree.
And so if some dingus from a Rocket Mortgage calls you and says for $9,000, we can reduce your payment to a number that you're not going to, where you're not going to get this $9,000 back for 8.5 years.
Yep.
Where were you 8.5 years ago? You weren't even living in Austin. Mm-hmm. Like, where are you going to be in 8.5 years? Probably not living in Austin.
This client would have been in high school 8.5 years ago.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I had a previous client who got a call from a random lender one day, and they said, we can extend your loan from a 30-year to a 40-year loan, and we can save you $120 a month. That's it, $120 a month. Mm-hmm. And she said, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, it's, And so, yeah, going back to what I was saying about a strategy in regards to loving on your people, staying ahead of these headlines and everything. I mean, I literally wrote it down here. It's like I want to reach out to everybody, just say, hey, I'm here. I'm aware of what's going on. I've got you. If you want to have a conversation about it now, we absolutely can. But my advice is that this is something that we visit, I'd say, as early as like mid-October, maybe realistically more like November. And then there's a strong possibility not even until spring of 2026.
I think it's just opening that door.
Yeah.
Like, not even to walk through it, not even to do something actionable, but just saying, hey, door's open. Call me anytime, text me anytime, ask me whatever you need. Like, that's the best thing that you can. And it kind of goes super well with the holidays. Everybody gets, lovey-dovey and, wants to be wholesome and all that stuff. Great opportunity to just say, hey, door's open.
This dude was about to do it. Like, what I'm talking about. Like, and I'm telling you, if it's happening to me, it's happening to y'all as well. Like, your clients are being inundated, whether it be through social media or directly or meeting some jackass at a bar who is...
the cold callers from remote, wherever, are well and live, and they are pounding the phones, and they're talking to your clients whether you are or not. Like, people, the wholesalers, the refi boomer, right? They're pounding the phones, literally talking to your clients probably more than you do. I mean, and you better hope you have a good relationship with your clients, because if you don't, somebody will call them and get them gassed up, and they may not even think to just check with you before they do something they can't.
Yeah, it almost happened to me today.
I wish I could hit that guy in the head. I mean, $9,000 to save yourself $90 a month. Okay, it'd be one thing if someone called me out of the blue and they said, hey, you bought your house, 3 years ago. We want to add 3 years to your loan, and we'll take off $9 a month. Then there would be some math I might want to do. But $9,000.
Well, that's why he called me, right? He contacted me because he kind of felt like it didn't make sense. And then, one of the things that you have to remember is the way that this is sold, because I used to operate in a call center like this. The whole concept of it is it's no money out of pocket. It doesn't cost you anything. Everything's rolled into the loan. You're going to get 2 months off of your mortgage payment. Like, you're making a payment of, we'll just say $2,100 a month. It's September. Your first payment's going to be due December 1st. And when that bill comes in the mail, it's only going to be $1,900 a month. And you're like, yeah, well, 19's lower than, 20 or 2,000. So, okay. And it's like, what's it going to cost me? It's like nothing out of pocket. That's what they said. Nothing.
Oh, so that nine grand was rolled in.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he had to pay it up front, as a closing cost.
No, but you're going to pay for it, right? I mean, you're ultimately tacking that onto your loan. And this, what I said to him is, I said, look, if you were to do something along those lines, think about it. I mean, this was a VA loan where he put no money down. And so now if you tack on another $9,000, barring, appreciation, which we know there's going to be appreciation, but just mathematically, let's leave that out of the equation. It's like you could end up making another 2 years worth of payments and you still can't sell this place because you just tacked on an additional $9,000 of future equity to your property. And we all preach that the best part of home ownership is that you are not giving the payment away. You're applying it towards a debt that you owe. And when you sell, you're going to at least get the principal of what you paid into this loan and hopefully some appreciation, right? There's nothing worse than okay, great, I just saved $140 on my payment, and in 3 years from now, you call one of you two and say, hey, I'd like to sell my home, and we get the payoff, and it's like, you get nothing. Because it's 6% to the buy side, or 3% to the buy side, 3% to the listing side, so 6%, that's eaten up in the appreciation. I tacked on another $9,000 3 years ago to save $140.
Title and repairs.
I'm in this house now. I've owned this home for 5 years, and I can't even sell it. That's a bummer.
But it's nothing out of pocket.
This whole thing is out of pocket.
I mean, and that's the crazy part, right? Is they're tacking it on, but that money's going somewhere in the short term, and it's going to them.
Right.
They're putting it on the end of your loan. They're pulling it out on that same day. and putting it in their pocket.
Also, if I'm not mistaken, your loan is then re-amortized and you're still paying the interest up front.
That's a good point. I mean, I'm sure
Lender-
that they're taking them back to a 30-year term, so he's paid 1 year, so he loses a year. That's where the majority of the savings comes from, is the reamortization, and then the interest that he's saving is probably only like $40 or $50. It's like,
That's why I think seller financing is beautiful on the seller side, because the first couple years are basically all interest anyway. And when you have a balloon that's 5, 7, 10 years long, it's mostly interest that they're paying.
yeah,
So, I mean, mortgage companies always get their money up front.
it's true.
Nobody waits.
A lot of risk, though. I'm here to tell you. I've had a more than a handful of early payoff, or derogatory payoffs where people miss payments and stuff like that. So definitely risky. Anything else y'all want to cover going forward? 2026 predictions, shout outs to clients in respect to public service announcements, anything like that?
Don't make any crazy life changes to your income while your house is on the market for sale. And if you overprice your listing, it doesn't matter how many upgrades you have. It's still not going to sell.
Got it.
Don't make my life worse. I am unfortunately extremely empathetic. And when I have the seller crying to me that they decided to make a bad life decision while their home was on the market, now it's my fault their home's not selling, I am sorry.
James?
I would just say, yeah. I mean, don't make any rash decisions without speaking to the people who have your best interest in mind. I mean, I think that's the best piece of advice I would give to anybody, friends, family, or clients alike. Like, talk to the people who want what's best for you and who are trying to help you do exactly what you want to do. And if all things point green and go, then go for it. But there's going to be a lot of hoorah and hoopla coming out of left field. So just be careful about who you're giving everything to.
And when you buy your first house, don't let it be because there was a discount in interest rates a couple months before. That's not changing anything in your life. You buy a house when you're ready to buy your house. I get coupons from Whataburger every month in the mail. Yes, it makes me want a Whataburger more, but it's also not on my diet,
Yeah.
and therefore I have to throw out the coupons.
I think that's a good analogy. I mean, purchasing a home just has to make sense, so it's important to not get caught up in, and it's going to continue, right? I mean, if all the predictions are true about what we're going to see in terms of Fed cuts, they're anticipating at least 2 more, potentially 3, and that's all great. That's all good, but I think we've learned, and that's where I kind of want to. I think this is a good thing to leave off on. I mean, we've been doing this podcast for 2 years, and we've made a lot of predictions. And there have been a lot of things said on this podcast. And I think the one thing that holds true is timing the market is never a good idea. I mean, the big joke is, date the rate, marry the house. That didn't go very well for you, did it?
That did not season well.
I never liked it. And you've heard me shit on it from day one. And I feel the same way about, if you're going to wait for interest rates to come down to a certain strike point to buy, it's not what you do. Get with somebody, put together a game plan. There's the perfect time always is to buy now, right? And that's because it's the same thing when they say the best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago, right?
And that's why the other phrase that I absolutely do believe in, it's not timing the market, it's time in the market.
Ooh, mic drop.
Slow burn.
I like it. Gentlemen, I appreciate it. We'll get this one out today right away so that everybody can see our take on everything in regards to the Fed. I think we all need to take the rest of the week to reach out to all of our clients, let them know we're here, not just everybody in this room, but everybody in this business. Reach out to your clients, let them know you're here, let them know that if they have any questions, they need to contact you because they are currently being bombarded by every jackass in a call center or 1-year agent that's sold one home in his or her life that is now a multi-million-dollar producer.
Mm-hmm.
So, thanks, guys.
Cool.
Thanks.